May the peace of the Lord be with you all. Today's Gospel Reflection, August 20th, 2025, Wednesday.
All the citizens of Shechem and all Beth Millo came together and proceeded to make Abimelech king by the terebinth at the memorial pillar in Shechem. When this was reported to him, Jotham went to the top of Mount Gerizim and standing there, cried out to them in a loud voice, "Hear me, citizens of Shechem, that God may then hear you." Once the trees went to anoint a king over themselves. So they said to the olive tree, "Reign over us." But the olive tree answered them, "Must I give up my rich oil, whereby men and gods are honored, and go to wave over the trees?" Then the trees said to the fig tree, "Come, you reign over us." But the fig tree answered them, "Must I give up my sweetness and my good fruit, and go to wave over the trees?" Then the trees said to the vine, "Come you and reign over us." But the vine answered them, "Must I give up my wine that cheers gods and men, and go to wave over the trees?" Then all the trees said to the buckthorn, "Come, you reign over us." But the buckthorn replied to the trees, "If you wish to anoint me king over you in good faith, come and take refuge in my shadow. Otherwise, let fire come from the buckthorn and devour the cedars of Lebanon." Responsorial Psalm. Lord, in your strength the king is glad. O Lord, in your strength the king is glad. In your victory how greatly he rejoices. You have granted him his heart's desire. You refused not the wish of his lips. Lord, in your strength the king is glad, for you welcomed him with goodly blessings. You placed on his head a crown of pure gold. He asked life of you. You gave him length of days forever and ever. Lord, in your strength the king is glad. Great is his glory in your victory. Majesty and splendor you conferred upon him. You made him a blessing forever. You gladdened him with the joy of your face. Lord, in your strength the king is glad.
The Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus told his disciples this parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out at dawn to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with them for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. Going out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You to go into my vineyard, and I will give you what is just." So they went off, and he went out again around noon, and around 3 o'clock, and did likewise. Going out about 5 o'clock, he found others standing around, and said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They answer, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You to go into my vineyard." When it was evening, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Summon the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and ending with the first." When those who had started about 5 o'clock came, each received the usual daily wage. So when the first came, they thought that they would receive more. But each of them also got the usual wage, and on receiving it they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last ones worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us, who bore the day's burden and the heat." He said to one of them in reply, "My friend, I am not cheating you. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what is yours and go. What if I wish to give this last one the same as you? Or am I not free to do as I wish with my own money? Are you envious because I am generous? Thus, the last will be first, and the first will be last." The Gospel of the Lord. Reflection. Life often feels like a competition where the earliest, the strongest, and the most prepared get the best rewards. We've been taught that the early bird catches the worm, and that's true in many situations, but there's a deeper truth in God's kingdom. The value of a person is not measured by how long they've been serving, but by the grace that God freely gives to all. Imagine two employees starting on the same day, a company. One has been preparing for this job for years, studying, networking, working on skills. The other only heard about the vacancy that morning, applied, and got in. At the end of the month, both received the same salary. The first might feel it's unfair. After all, they put in much more preparation. But from the company's perspective, both are part of the team. Both contributed to the day's success, and both are worthy of the agreed pay. This is how God's generosity works. Some have been walking with Him since childhood, faithfully attending church, serving in ministries, and making sacrifices. Others only came to faith in the later seasons of life, perhaps after years of ignoring God. In our human way of thinking, it feels reasonable to expect that the long-time believers deserve more blessings or a better place in heaven. But in God's kingdom, the measure isn't the number of years you've served, it's that you responded to His call, whether early or late. One of the most beautiful things about God's character is that He doesn't operate on scarcity. The world tells us there's only so much success, love, or blessing to go around, so we must fight for our share. God, however, is infinitely rich in mercy. He can bless the one who has been serving for decades and the one who just arrived, without taking anything away from the other. It's not a pie where more for one means less for another. His goodness is limitless. This truth is especially comforting for people who feel they've wasted too many years. Maybe you've been living far from God, or maybe you've been so focused on your career, pleasures, or personal struggles that you didn't have time for Him. The moment you choose to come to Him, you are welcomed, not as a latecomer who barely made it, but as a beloved child fully embraced. The joy of salvation is the same for the one who accepted Christ at 10 years old, and the one who did so at 70. But there's also a challenge here for those who had been in the faith for a long time. It's easy to look at new believers who quickly experience breakthroughs, blessings, or deep joy and feel a sting of jealousy. We might think, I've been here longer, I've sacrificed more. Why do they seem to be getting the same rewards? When those feelings arise, it's an opportunity to remember that service to God is not a transaction, it's a relationship. We follow Him not because we want more than others, but because being in His presence is the reward itself. Consider a volunteer who joins a feeding program. They've been helping every week for years, arriving early to cook and staying late to clean. One day, a newcomer helps out for just one event, and the organizers publicly thank both equally. The veteran volunteer might feel overlooked, but the true joy comes from the children who were fed, not the recognition received. Similarly, in the kingdom of God, our joy comes from knowing Him and being part of His work, not from comparing our portion to someone else's. God's ways challenge our natural instincts. He invites us to celebrate every person who comes to Him, no matter when they arrive. In His kingdom, there's no such thing as too late or less deserving. Instead, there is overflowing grace for everyone who says yes to His call. So whether you've been serving for decades or you're just starting your journey with God, remember this: what matters most is not how early you began, but that you responded to the invitation. And in the end, the joy of being with Him will be more than enough to make us forget the comparisons and simply rejoice that we are in His presence.